Being odd has never been considered a good thing, even in numbers. Let's take the example of the number 3. The number 3 is odd because we can make a pair of 2 numbers, but one number will be left out, or odd. I promise, all the math we'll be doing today. Hi, I'm Amanda, certified weirdo, been working in the craft since 2009, and am the perfect person to tell you why being odd is a good thing. And I know what you're thinking. You don't want to be the odd one, because that means you'll be cast aside, left out, ignored, etc., etc. This is especially true for students, and I would know this because, well, I am one. Being odd affects everyone, and peer pressure is a factor of one of them. This applies also to students. The 1951 Asch conformity experiment shows how big of a problem it can be. In the experiment, Asch placed 4 people in a room and asked them a question with an obvious answer, like which straight line was the longest. However, only one person was a true participant and gave the correct answer. The rest were all pretending. They gave a collective wrong answer in an attempt to pressure the real participant. In the end, 75% of participants gave in to the larger group. This shows how big peer pressure and the need to conform to social norms are. But today, I promise you that if I can't show you how being odd is actually a good thing, then you get, one second, I'm going to need a second right there. Bragging rights, perfect. We first need to ask the hypothetical question. What would it be like in a world where no one was odd and everyone was the same? Well, to do that, I will use the book 1984 by George Orwell to help. To keep it really simple, 1984 is a book about a dystopian society where people have to conform to the norms of society. The book follows the idea of the law of mental unity. It's when a person loses their individuality and becomes an automaton. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to compare real life to the book. Starting immediately, you would have to follow the same routine every single day. You would get up, go to work, eat lunch, work more, go home, wait for the next day. You wouldn't even be able to get a cup of coffee with your friend Janet. In fact, in the book, you aren't allowed to have any relationships at all. And if that wasn't enough, you're always watched, always. Cameras, TVs, helicopters, always on, always watching you, all the time. And in the end, odd people would still exist. It's in our genes to be different. To conclude, if we lived like the people in 1984, we would all be miserable, sad and tired of living the same experiences every single day. Now, we're going to go back to the law of mental unity, and we're going to look at the paper that this law was created in, The Crowd by Gustave Le Bon. He said that under circumstances, a group of people would follow the same direction, becoming one. He said crowds would also lack more critical thinking and would act without thinking first. This matches with what was said in the Asch conformity experiment, as 99% of participants used their own thinking to give the correct answer. However, 32% of them gave in to the larger group, and that's not good. Now, I know what you're thinking. So why does this matter? Because it happens every single day, and I'll show you right here, right now. Every Friday, I go to my badminton lesson at some random school. I don't really know most kids, and the classes are nice and all, but I have no idea what I'm doing there. Like, I never understand any of the tasks, no clue. And I really would just ask them to repeat the question again. It's just that would take way too many tries. So, I follow people around without thinking, hoping that this is what I have to do. This is a perfect example of the law of mental unity. Under a circumstance, us trying to understand the task, me and a bunch of other people came together following the same direction, becoming one. If you were wondering what the point of this was, it was to tell you 2 things. That one, if we lived in a world where everyone was the same, it would be very boring, very uneventful, not very fun at all. And that 2, being odd, is the norm. Now, if you're confused about that, let me just go over it some more. All of us are born different some way. None of us are the same. Like no one. Sure, people strongly resemble each other all the time, like twins. But there's always something different about them, whether it's their hair or their fingerprints. And think about it. Have you ever met 2 carbon copies of people? 2 people who eat the same foods, buy the same clothes on the same days? It's no. So that means we're all different because none of us are the same. And if we go back to the whole being normal thing, and the second point I mentioned, being odd is normal. And if you want to fit in, well, the thing is that I'll tell you right now, you can't really ever fit in. Apologies for saying this. It's just that, do you really think out there the whole idea of being normal just doesn't exist? Plot twist. Do you really think out there in a world with 8 billion people, we can decide what's normal in society? Heck, we can't even decide if pineapple's good on pizza. Our judgments and wants are so entangled by the norms of society that when the constantly changing norms change, our wants and judgments change too, and we just can't keep up with that anymore. Of course, you'll still find the occasional person who tries to fit into what others believe is normal, but, in the end, they're less happy, like the people in 1984. It gets really tiring trying to be normal in society's eyes. I'll give you an example right now. So I was talking to a friend once, and we both discovered that we played a game called Brawl Stars. We were very excited, going on about the different characters and things like that, until she started to Google an image of a character, I think, and I stopped her immediately. No. Why? Because there were people sitting behind us. I didn't want them to judge me for liking this game. I changed who I was, so I was not the odd one out. And, her on the other hand, she could not have cared less. Very confused why I didn't want her to do that, blah, blah, blah. So when do you think I was happier? When I was trying to change who I was so that way I could fit into society, or when I was talking about one of my favorite games to one of my friends? This shows how in the end, being odd makes you happier. And that the people who try to be normal, well, they kind of shoot themselves in the foot a little, because now not even they know who they are. To be odd or not to be odd, that is the question of this talk. A lot of people have a lot of different opinions. That means one thing. That's somewhere out there. In the eyes of one of the 8 billion people out there, one of them's going to look at you, yes, you, and they're going to find you strange, odd, a little peculiar. That's inevitable. Being odd is normal. We shouldn't fight it. We shouldn't change it. It's not going to change whether you like it or not. If we all accepted ourselves as who we are, as right now as odd, we would all be happier, less worried, fresh spin on life, and all you really have to do is be odd. Thank you.